everyone, welcome back to our channel. I'm Anne, I'm the co-owner and founder of the Sussex Handmade Soap Company. It is week 3 or 4 of the UK coronavirus lockdown right now, and today is the first time in 3 weeks that I've actually managed to get up, put makeup on and put a bra on. Life goals. And today's soap, we are making a feather swirl soap bar with a rose design on top. This soap was tricky to work with. It's actually an unscented one. It wasn't meant to be unscented, but it became unscented purely because, as you will see in the video, it got a little bit tricky, a little bit complicated. It didn't behave quite as it should have done. You'll see all that in the video in a minute. However, what I would like to say is, like many of the soaps I've done, the ones that throughout the making process don't seem to be working so well, most of the time they actually end up being my favourite soaps. I don't know how that works, but yeah, the ones that mess up during the making process tend to come out really nicely, and vice versa, the ones that I think are going great during the making process often come out not so good. But today's soap actually has become one of my favourites. I'm really happy with how it turned out, so let's move swiftly on and show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so today as usual we are starting by pouring our cooled lye water into our melted oils. Then we are going to bring it to a medium trace today. I'll tell you something, this is actually the second time I've made this soap today. It went horribly wrong just now and I've had to redo the whole thing, but I'll tell you a little bit more about that after I brought this to a trace. There we go. So this is the point where you'd normally add in the essential oils. That's where I went wrong earlier. I added in a new blend called Love, which I do not love. It was a mixture of floral oils and citrus oils, which is where the problem started, because floral oils can sometimes cause the batter to accelerate, and in this case they did, and citrus oils can sometimes taint the batter an orangey sort of colour, which they did. So I ended up with a soap that was not the nice white colour I wanted, and was certainly far too thick to work with. All I could do was dump it into a mould and see what happened, and that is the colour that it came out. Absolutely not the white colour I was wanting. So we're going to skip the essential oil step today, purely because I just want a soap that works and looks pretty. And we're going to move straight on to colouring small portions of this batter. The first one is going to be green. We only need a little bit of each, so that should do for the green. And the second colour will be pink. And again, just need a little bit, slightly less pink. We are using mica to colour them today. This one is called Emerald Lagoon. We'll pop that in there. And this one is Classic Lippy, which we shall pop in here. And I've only used about 1/8 of a teaspoon of each mica powder, so a tiny amount, and I've mixed it with some olive oil just to make sure that it incorporates nicely and it goes in well. And now I'm just going to mix the mica into each of these, and hopefully it will give us a nice pale colour. We don't want it to be too bright because this soap we're going for a nice sort of pale colour in the centre. So they're both mixed in now. As you can see, we've got very pale pink and a very pale green there, and they are the colours that I was hoping for. The next step is to grab the mould. And we're going to start by just filling about 1 centimetre or just over of this white batter along the base of the mould. That should do it. And then we're going to take some homemade dividers. Those of you who've seen our other videos will know I do like my homemade dividers. And we're going to place them in at about 1/3 of the way, and then the other one Again, about a third of the way down. Then we're going to begin today's design by pouring a thin line of the green down the centre here. Then covering it with a line of white. Then moving on and doing the same with the pink. And again, then some more white. Back to the green. I'm sorry, I know this isn't the best camera angle for actually showing you what I'm doing. Hopefully now that it's filling up a little you can see a little bit of what's going on. It's just hard because at the minute the tripod's a pain to set up. We still need a new one of them, which we haven't got yet. But we will, and when we have, it'll make filming a lot easier. Back to the pink. And that'll be our final line of pink in there. Then back to the white. One more line of green. Just gonna fill up some of these edges with the white. Do the same on this side. Right, now I'm going to carefully pull out these dividers. And then I'm going to take my homemade hanger swirl device, which literally is just a cut up coat hanger. We like doing things homemade here. And I'm going to take it down through the centre here, move it along the bottom and then pull it out. And our coat hanger is quite thin, so I'm hoping that would have done the trick, but you never know. And the idea now was to do the rest of the top in white, but it appears that I slightly misjudged things and I've ended up with some pink and green left over, but I haven't ended up with any white left over. So what can we do? Let's just improvise. Let's pour this pink into the green, and at this point I don't know what I'm doing because it was meant to be white on the top. I should have measured, but I decided I could be clever and just wing it. Clearly that doesn't work. Always do your measurements. If you don't do your measurements, stuff like this happens. I've got a little bit of white left over that I can perhaps drag out of that jug. There we go. So, what should we do with this? Let's just go in with a chopstick, I reckon. Fat end of a chopstick, swirl it a couple of times, and then we'll use this on top of the soap instead. It's still going to look pretty, just not quite how it looked in my head. But that's okay, designs change, things change. Now let's smooth it onto the top. And at this point, like I say, I have absolutely no idea how this soap's going to turn out or what it's going to look like. The top is going to be textured anyway, so I'm hoping that the majority of this that I'm swirling onto the top now will actually end up being incorporated into the textured top and should still leave us with quite a nice main white bar. The colour scheme here is actually really pretty. I'm liking the pink and the green sort of mixed together like this. it's just not how it was quite meant to be. But we may end up with a very happy accident, who knows? And we'll leave it to set up for a few minutes and then we're going to texture the top. Because if there's one thing I am going to get right today, it's going to be the top. Because frankly, the fragrance has gone wrong and the design's gone wrong. So something's got to go right, surely. Now we're going to take the back of a teaspoon and we're going to use it to just texture the soap. Pulling it up into a peak. And like I anticipated, a lot of the colouring that we put on top is actually being pulled into this peak. Which I don't know at this point if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Could be either. This is just going to be a soap that turns out how it turns out. It's doing its own thing. It's done its own thing since I started making it. And it's going to turn out however it wants to turn out. So I've pulled that into a sort of gentle peak and I've left the central bit fairly flat because for once we have actually got something to decorate the top. I've been testing my piping skills with these little roses. It's the first time I've piped these particular roses. I used a Russian piping tip for them and some of them have come out better than others. I quite like the ones that are like this, sort of more straight up, like a little bud that's ready to open. Some of them didn't come out so well, some of them came out a little bit more squashed. But it was my first attempt, so I don't think I did too bad. And what we're going to do is just take a rose and position it carefully on the top of each peak. Just going to readjust my glove. The gloves are not behaving either. There we go. Just working my way down the top of the soap. Hoping that they're all going to fit in. Although the way today's been going, I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't. This is one thing I did measure before I started, so they should actually work. There we go. Well, there we go, something that's actually worked today. The roses have filled the mould properly. When it comes to cutting, they're not going to be exactly even bars today because the roses are different sizes, but that is our rose soap. So on the top, it actually looks quite pretty, I think. The interesting part's going to be definitely cutting this one. I am, interested to cut this one, that's all I can say. And if nothing else, it's certainly been an experience. So join us in a couple of days when we chop this up and see what on earth it looks like on the inside. So here we are 3 days later, the soap is out of the mould and ready to be cut. We're going to get straight into the cutting today. And because it's not very interesting for you guys to watch me chopping each bar individually, with the magic of movie editing, let's cut this soap. Ta-da! We are all chopped up. Now let's see what that inside's looking like. Let me pull this one out to show you. There we go. I'm so happy with that. Considering how the soap was misbehaving throughout the whole making process, I really wasn't sure how it was going to turn out. But I've got to say, I am so pleased with what I'm seeing here. The feather swirl's gone down nicely. The roses on the top are looking pretty. And I'm liking the colour scheme too, and even the extra green and pink that went on top instead of the white, even that is just sort of collected up here. And I think it's looking really pretty. I think I'm going to have another go at this swirl with the rose on top, but perhaps a different colour scheme. I'm thinking what might look quite nice. It'd be a black bar with the same green feather swirl and then a bright red rose on top. Keeping all of this green so that it'll almost look like the stem and leaves of a rose, and then you get the rosebud on top. So I think that'll have to be a project for another day because I'm so happy with how this has turned out. It's really got to be repeated just to see if we can get the same effect again or if this is just a complete fluke. So there you have it, today's soaps. Easily one of my favourites, despite all the troubles with the making. I'm so happy with how the designs turned out. I'm really pleased with the swirl, I'm really pleased with the colour scheme, and all in all, yeah, I just really like it. Yay! Happy little soaps! That's all from us for today. You can head on over to our website if you want to see the actual soaps we sell. The link is here. I'll put our discount code up as well, just along here. And we shall, well, see you next time, I suppose. Bye!